So I think these brilliant case studies will be these brilliant case studies will actually be a fantastic collection of diverse impacts that heritage has to social and economic development. So I would like to open the floor for the discussion at this stage. We don't have that much time. As I said, the audience can write to the chat questions that may be passed on to the speakers during or after, and we may follow up. But in any case, it would be great to have the various participants here to answer perhaps a couple of questions. I do not know if Gertrude, who would be normally co-moderating the session with me, has got a good internet connection. Gertrude?
Hi, Evangelist.
Hi. Yes. How about you ask the first question?
Okay. Thank you, Evangelist. We have had great case studies from the different speakers. There were the role of, others and NGOs. There were so many projects that they are doing. Probably my question here is that what is the role of the state in your country in safeguarding heritage and also contributing to heritage management and conservation? Especially that more of your case studies, some of them, yes, of course, they are based on the government interventions, but we want to know how your state or your government is playing a role in safeguarding the heritage. And also, in terms of development, how much is heritage associated to development at the government level? If I take an example of my country in Botswana, for the past few years, before we were hit by COVID, government has dedicated, money through the development projects, budget to contribute to, for heritage, especially cultural heritage, to contribute to the tourism sector. So we would like to find out, in how your government is doing that in that aspect. Thank you.
Thank you, Gertrude. And I must say that Gertrude Matsweri is the project manager of our collaborative project with the Economic Commission on the part of the Economic Commission. So who wants to have a go? Will someone speak from David?
Yes. Thank you so much for this platform. Actually, we have, through different case studies, I've got to learn more things, and that will impact on what I'm doing here in Rwanda. So with reference to Gertrude's question, well, the government of Rwanda is doing a great number of initiatives to restore peace and sustainable development in the country. As I said in my presentation, we had the tragic event of the 1994 genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda, and when you visit Rwanda now, you can hardly, many people get shocked and see, because they attach Rwanda to like that kind of instability, unstable country, but we have gone away from that. And as I said, we have a saying in our language that we can always get the external support after it has stopped raining. So we assume that it's raining, and you have to find solution within ourselves. So the government of Rwanda had that initiative of homegrown solution in programs that actually fetch from the past. We started thinking of how the country before colonialism, how it used to operate and how they could solve the conflicts. That's why we went back and back to these traditional institutions and to inform our present, so that we can move on in a sustainable way. And one of the things that the government has done is like these traditional institutions have worked. When you look at gacaca courts or the local courts that manage the different genocide cases within a period, and everything, be it the genocide, the victims and the perpetrators, now live together or they get intermarried. So these are the things that the government is putting more energy, more effort to see that these traditional institutions are preserved. And that's why we have now a homegrown solution museum exhibiting these traditional institutions so that our young or future generations can learn more from this. Secondly, as I speak now, actually I shared this with Kriakidis yesterday that we have a a delegation from Somalia attending the Mayor's Forum in Kigali, and one of the things they have come to learn or as a case study are these homegrown solutions that have shocked everyone, and they are working. So we need, the government is trying to not to rely on external support. We assume it's still raining and we need to find solutions in our own in our own country. So that's, and then another thing is at a policy level, we are trying to draft a heritage law that is now we are waiting the ministerial order so that it can pass, and it will help us in heritage management, actually in trying to decentralize heritage management at the district level. We need to bring, we are devising a new approach of bottom-up approach instead of the top-down approach, so that communities can be more engaged, can have that self-pride, and they can own these heritage resources. So these are some of the things that the government is, of course, doing. And of course, we are expanding. We are also trying to see how Africa or East Africa can come together, and through the East African Cultural Heritage Bill that is also under construction, that will help us to see how Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania can come together and protect these heritage resources that are very vital to our socio-economic development. So those are the things that we are currently doing, and I hope, why not African Cultural Heritage Bill in the near future? Thank you.
Thank you, David. Danyachu.
Okay, thank you, Evangelist. Thank you, participants. As I expressed in my presentation, our government gives priority to tourism, especially for the development of intangible cultural heritage. But as you know, Ethiopia is more than 80 diverse cultural ethnicities and cultural centers, and because of that, this vastness, it is difficult to cover all at once, and such type of programs and the other coordinate programs are more necessary to work more on projects and others like this. Otherwise, our government focuses on this heritage development because there is no option to give unemployment for the people's, the dwellers, and this tourism is one of the means of avoiding this unemployment for the country. That's why it gives priority and works on that development, both maintaining the previous one and developing the new heritage sites. And our government focus on this, as the one he said previously, the Rwandan brother state. We are focusing on the homegrown economy. That means we are treating by ourselves Of course, we do not have to work with the others, but we are mainly focused to maintain or doing by our service. And this is my thank you very much.
Thank you, Dagnacho. Tuda.
Thank you, Dr. Evangelos and fellow presenters. I think what our government is doing, we have an institution called the National Heritage Council. So they are responsible for the heritage sites that we have in the country. So that is the development, the maintenance, and that indirectly contributes to building the society, the communities where the sites are found. And that also increases the livelihood of the people. And also just to add on what the government is doing, the Museums Association of Namibia, we are an NGO. And last year and this year, we opened 2 museums. We'll be opening a third one this year. And we sourced funds through donors, and the government was able to allocate buildings for us where we can put this museum. So it's a Zambezi Museum, Museum of Namibian Music, as well as the Museum of Namibian Fashion. So in a way, this also contributes to the heritage of the country, and it gives people hope and encourages them to take part in the heritage. And also through the ratification of conventions by UNESCO, that means that government is serious about heritage, and in a way, it directly and indirectly influences people to take up interest in both the cultural and natural tangible as well as intangible cultural heritage. And also another way that the government is contributing is through the involvement of heritage institutes through the development of the school curriculum. So that makes sure that there is enough content about Namibian culture in the school textbooks when so the learners get to learn about the different heritage that we have in the country. Yeah, I think for short, I would like to add that is how the government is contributing towards heritage in many different ways.
Thank you, Tuda. As I don't see any other hands, maybe we can...
Yeah.
Haptamu, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. I will just try to raise some additional points on the 2 points for discussion. So on the first step, the role of the states in preserving and conserving this heritage are many actually. Not only it's only not the role of states, but the stakeholders or the actors are many. But particularly, the government should to play a significant role in preserving cultural heritage. For example, the government should have to consider during policy designing and also to involve in education curriculum. Again, to acknowledge this, especially these intangible or traditional institutions, and acknowledging them because they have high legitimacy than the government formal system. So the government should have to acknowledge them, and also the government or the politicians should have to refrain not to interfere in this institution to use that to use this cultural heritage for their political benefits. So because this is a common phenomenon that we are observing here in our country, they use these traditional institutions. They intervene in the structure of these institutions to use them as a tool for their political benefits. So this is the role of governments, and also the role of the local community also have its own role to preserve and transfer this cultural heritage by strengthening their capacity and by protecting and teaching us and by transferring this heritage for the coming generation. And also the religious institutions also, because the religious institutions they are influencing these traditional institutions because of their, sometimes there are wrong teaching about this traditional heritage as a bad custom. So the traditional institutions should also refrain and stop this wrong teaching about this heritage, and they have to respect the values of this culture. And also in educational institutions like universities and research centers should have to conduct deep studies and also prepare the written documentation. For example, in our context, there is no written documentation about intangible heritage. So I think the education institutions have to work on this part also. The last, and the international cooperations, agencies or NGOs also should have support to strengthening these traditional institutions by giving capacity building and also in cultural skill transferring and many other experience. So in general, the experience of integrating heritage with development is really very less in the context of our country. It may be focused, as my brother said earlier, it may be focused only on the tourism, but heritage is not, it's beyond tourism. It's about peace, it's about conflict, it's about livelihood. So I think we need to have an integrated plan. Integrating this cultural heritage with other development sector is the best solution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Haptamu. I do not know if Gertrude wants to say anything about this topic, but because she has already made some comment, and I don't know how good her internet connection is, but I would like to hear also a little bit more on the other side. So we've heard a little bit from Haptamu from the NGO side, civil society side, but Harriet, for example, has made a business out of heritage. Obviously, that business probably has not benefited directly from any government action. Perhaps it was not hindered by government action, but I don't think it was particularly benefiting from government action. But Harriet, would you have to say anything on what could the state do to help businesses like yours to flourish when it comes to?
So, I mean, for us, on our end, really, for a very long time, there was a stigma against traditional medicine. And this meant many practitioners went underground, and many are marginalized in the sense that they're not educated, from a small community that are not very dominant on the political or financial scene. They're made up of the elderly or people who, this is really about lineage. So I find a lot of people really couldn't, take their business to the next level because of this. Now, for me, what really helped was that because I was a banker before and I know about business, I applied my business skills to the business. So I was able to translate the language, translate the illnesses, translate the plants to Latin and to English. I really, found that education, for instance, sustained education on somebody like me enabled me to take that cultural heritage and monetize it, and also, monetize it and make a living from it, make it sustainable and raise the profile. So I think government needs to make an intervention on the stigma and the social stigma associated with traditional medicine and tradition. At the same time, the Ministry of Culture regulates traditional medicine. So people always think that we're not actually giving up medicine because we'd be under the Ministry of Health. So if we were put under the Ministry of Health, for instance, then we can take advantage of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, the research associated with medicine or with pharmaceutical products. We can connect with providers abroad or institutions abroad that actually, take all these resources, botanical resources from the forest, and convert them into mainstream medicine. And then that creates even more of a virtuous circle where everybody gets to benefit and sort of like pushes the onus back on the community to continue preserving the forest, preserving the knowledge, preserving, all the systems associated, passing it on to a different generation. It could be taught in schools. It could be talked about in museums. And all that sort of like makes sure everybody gets the positive impact of traditional medicine.
Thank you, Gert. Thank you, Harriet. This is very helpful. Gertrude has raised her hand.
Yes, thank you, Evangelist. I just wanted something caught my attention from Harriet. I mean, the business skills aspect. I think a lot of people who work in the heritage field, don't see the business side of heritage, and there are people lack skills into converting heritage in the products that we have for them to benefit in terms of money and all that. So we see heritage mainly from the conservation and preservation perspective. So I think now, as we try to unpack this heritage, in terms of capacity building, we should also consider, the entrepreneurship aspect and the business skills aspect, for us to be able to derive a lot of value from our heritage. Thank you.
Thank you, Gertrude. This is very relevant. As leaders are going to be meeting from today and for a few more days in Brussels this week, and as I told you in the beginning, the climate for supporting heritage, creative industries, culture, local communities, sustainable tourism. There is sustainable tourism as far as the environment is concerned, but there is not sustainable tourism as far as society is concerned, is largely absent from strategic documents that have been produced by the consultation between EU and African countries. What would you like to say to leaders to consider? And what do you think could be a contribution that the EU could be making towards fostering a good environment for heritage and creative industries in your countries? David.
Yes, thank you so much. To me, as maybe to add on what I just said before, is now we need, as African countries or Rwanda in particular, we need to see heritage as an economic resource. And actually, Harriet has a good example for this. And also, heritage, we need to practice, to actively practice heritage in Africa. Instead of teaching heritage, we need platforms where we can practice heritage actively with the communities. And another thing maybe is community empowerment. As my recent research, they mentioned two things that actually caught my eye, and I was like, we need to do more things on this. And one of the things the communities told me is that we do not need to see results, but we want to be part of the results. So there is that gap. Another thing is that we cannot own what we don't understand. So you see, those two things are really very vital and hold the center of gravity in heritage management and practice in Africa. So we need more resources, resource mobilization, so that we can have a great impact to our communities through empowerment. They need to be empowered so that they can sustainably manage these resources within their vicinity. Thank you.
Tuda.
Thank you very much. David, it's like you said, everything that I had noted down here. But just to add on to what David had said, I think our heritage is at risk of, or a threat of dying out because of not our active participation. And what I would like to say is we need resources, especially us from the NGO civil society. We need support to ensure that we encourage our societies and communities to actively participate in the heritage. Because the only way that we'll keep our heritage alive is through active participation. And it's communities that will help us safeguard it. And unfortunately, they cannot do that if they do not have their resources. Yes, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you to that, Daniel.
Thank you. As my brother said, in addition to that, you see, in Africa, especially Ethiopia, the problem is there is no statistics in the contribution of heritage. Will not be well recorded. Still, we are not recorded how much they are contributed to the economy and how much they contribute for the social aspect also. This is one side of study needs to study, because if the government shows how much they this heritage is contributed, it focuses on that, and the development may be in a hurry. And because of that, currently for the this UN Statistics Division already accepted that there is one new measuring tool, that is measuring sustainable tourism. And in that case, they include the economic aspect, and at the same time, the wastages and the climate change impacts also. And in that case, if this is these workers like Europe in Africa, the government may focus to maintain the destroyed one and to establish the new one. And this statistics is a very crucial one for that purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Anyone else would like to say something about this? In that case, I would like to close the session with just a few words on, for those that are watching, that this has been a tremendous experience, at least for me, to try and collect good case studies on the contribution of heritage to socioeconomic development. All of your case studies and the case studies of people who did not manage to be here were very important, and have been very important, and will be very important for the development of economy and society, not only necessarily at the local level, but also perhaps at the national or even at the continental level. And so I think the framework in which this was created, which was our joint program with the Economic Commission on capacity building and heritage management, I think lends huge importance to this program. So thank you very much. But at the same time, I think we need to impart some wisdom from our collective group to the African leaders and to the EU leaders to actually look more carefully at the heritage sector, both at a horizontal level throughout the continent, but also at the national level, and take into consideration the enormous impact that heritage has got on society. Because ultimately, the goal is to help each and every country to leapfrog in that sector so as to create benefits for everyone, right? And the logo of the week with which I close is Together, Tomorrow, Today. So we would like to use heritage from the past for working together tomorrow, today. Thank you very much to all. Thanks to the Economic Commission for Africa and to the African Union, as well as to the Greek Foreign Ministry for supporting this event. And thanks to all of the case studies and all the heritage managers from around the continent who have offered fantastic case studies for socioeconomic development and the contribution of heritage there. And thanks to the organizers for making this success despite the enormous difficulties of COVID and internet connections and so on. So thanks very much to all. Bye-bye.